Welcome to Talent Matters, the podcast where talent, skills, and grit take centre stage. I'm your host, Donal O, Donoghue, and this is episode 18. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Rory O'Connor from Rory Stories. Hey, Rory.
Donal,
you're very welcome.
Pleasure.
I just have a piece of paper here that blew me away. It says that you have amassed over 1.2 million followers and 2 billion video views. Unbelievable. So
Yeah. I suppose when you think of the views, definitely it's a lot of views.
mad. It is. So what we want to do, like we always do, is go back to the beginning, understand where you came from and how the hell you got here. So tell us, what was life like for you growing up?
Yeah, good. Yeah, I'm from Ashbourne in County Meath. A lot of people mistake me as a dub because of my accent, but that's, Ashbourne is very much on the border, and a lot of lads I would have grown up with, the parents might be from Dublin or whatever, and they're after coming out. So there was never really a Meath kind of a accent like you'd have in Screen or Navan or place like that, in Ashbourne. And we were always kind of known as Dubs, our club down in Ashbourne, and that's, listen, it is what it is. It rallied us at times as well, but that's where I was born and bred. And had a great time. The 90s is when I grew up, which, I know we're sounding old fashioned saying that we grew up in simple times where there was no phones, there was no social media. It was just out on the road, and you went in when you're hungry, and you went in when you were called in, that kind of stuff. So yeah, I've a lot of, I grew up in a really busy housing estate. My mum and dad still live there now, and it's gone quiet now, but it's funny how the grandkids now are starting to come to that road, and there's kids on it again, which is great to see.
Yeah.
There was a few years where it was very quiet, but now, I suppose the grandkids are being dropped up my own as well. So yeah, we just got up to normal things. The old-fashioned squares and premierships and curbs and all these kind of games, all the good stuff. Yeah, missions in and out of gardens and that, and knickknacks. Obviously, were good old crack as well. So that was kind of my upbringing. My mum and dad are from the country, both Midlands, Offaly and Westmeath. So I spent a lot of time down in the farm and that. So I suppose that's probably why my understanding of Irish people and cultures is good, because I grew up in a housing estate, and my mum and dad grew up on farms. So I had cousins from the country background, so I know how their minds think, and it's completely different to people who grew up in towns and the States.
Yeah.
So
Isn't it funny how it kind of works like that? My mum and dad are from the country as well, but I grew up in Dublin, and it does give you that insight into the full, because I suppose one of your key skills as a comedian is, as you were saying to me before, is all about observation, and having that urban and rural mix gives you both, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, it is, and that's what it's always been. My wife used to always say to me, "How did you spot that?" Do you know what I mean? Even if you're watching something, or if you see something, and it's just, again, I know now that it's kind of a gift that I might have had even from my school days. I'd see something and I'd observe it in a funny way and get people to laugh. So it's and that's where Rory Stories began. Every video I made was always, I'm highlighting someone in society, whether in the GA pitch, a cornerback, a goalie, a corner forward, and building sites, relationships, parenting, obviously COVID, which was obviously a lot going on there. So that's kind of always the way it's been. And as I said to you, you can be running out of material or whatever, but you just have to trust the process, and out of nowhere you'll just be walking the street and you'll spot something going, that's actually very. And what I do is I'll text 2 or 3 people that I respect their kind of opinion or whatever, and if they come back, yeah, that happens, blah blah blah, well then it's gold, and bang, and then you sketch it out. So that's the way it's always been, and that's the way I'll probably continue to do that. It just works.
Yeah. You touched on the school days. What was school like for you?
I suppose primary school was a bit more of a raw place than it is now, which is fair to say, and anyone who went to school in the kind of 80s and 90s will probably relate to that. I think the physical abuse was probably under wraps then, but definitely the verbal abuse was still alive and well.
But even the physical, because I'm probably a few years ahead of you, because I started national school, say 1979, so it was kind of more the early 80s for me, or early to mid 80s, that I was in national school, and corporal punishment had stopped. But I always remember the school that I went to, you still got swung around. If a teacher lost the rag with you, they mightn't have hit you, but they'd certainly grab you. I don't know if it was the same in your days, but they certainly grab you by the scruff of the neck and give you a good shake and stuff like that. And they did it more to some kids than to others. But I don't know, what was it similar in your place, or had that?
Well, I suppose, to be honest with you, I was pretty freakish in school, as in, like, I was 6'2" or 3 in sixth class, so I'm not sure there was many teachers that could grab me by the scruff of the neck. So I think they probably got away with that. But yeah, certainly verbal, like, being called omadons or blackguards or all these kind of words. And the more we all, like, I always say, like, nothing makes sense looking forward. It's when we get past a certain stage of our life and we reflect on awareness, of the likes of dyslexic, ADHD, these types of stuff. You think back on, okay, now that makes sense. And it often brings sadness to people, because I knew I wasn't that kind of messer or little bollocks, basically. Like, I kind of knew I wasn't that, but at the time I must be, because I'm being corrected, and adults are right, and and that's just the way it was. And our parents would have, like, my father used to always say, oh, you have a handy. When I was your age, I got physically hit by teachers, and I used to say to my dad, but Dad, when you come home from school and your legs were black and blue, what did your mum and dad say? And it's, oh, you must have deserved it. So this was the kind of core that was going on. And now we know a lot more than we didn't. It's very sad, like, and what makes me sad is thinking of the amount of very gifted, intelligent people that were lost to that regime, and because they didn't have support, drugs, alcohol, gambling addictions, all this kind of stuff consumed them and made them just give up on themselves. And that's why prisons are full. That's why mental health is very much topic conversation, because people were burying demons with drinking drugs for a long time. And yeah, it's sad. And that's why, I done a memoir when I was 33, 34, which is weird. Why you're writing a life story when you're only hopefully halfway through your life? Because it's important, and I don't want to wait any longer. And that's why I done a memoir when I did, because especially, there's a chapter 2 called Educate to Liberate, and I was very honest about my school experience, and that got the most response. Like, most emails and messages I got, or meeting people out and about, was your school days was a carbon copy of mine. And some people have written to me from prisons, and some people have written to me that are millionaires in America that got kicked out of school and went on to America and found their lane, and they're running construction sites, and they're very successful, but they were the same people that were kicked out of class as well. So so
the
that's
school
why
system has a horrible, and maybe we're talking about the school system from days gone by, because I know there's been a lot of change and there's been a lot of improvement, but the school system, I think years ago, did have a horrible way of making people that turned out to be very smart feel very stupid.
Yeah, well, the reality of it is, like, and it's proven over time that, in the majority of cases, the person who gets 600 points, when all the dust settles, will end up working for someone who either got thrown out of school or had a poor school experience. And that's the way the brain is wired. Like, we're all intelligent. Like, the word stupid, like, for me, yes, it is a word, but it has to be used correctly. So what I mean by is, you can do a stupid thing, or you can say something stupid, or you can act in a stupid way, but you are not stupid. That you're stupid is nonsense. That's not a real reflection, because you're only stupid in a different lane. You know what I mean? It goes back to, okay, fish, come here, I'll take you out of the pond there, climb that tree. He'll be on the ground flapping, going, oh, I must be stupid. No, you don't. Just have to try back into your environment. And education is exactly that. And that's why, even in my house, if someone says, even the kids, you're stupid, I'd say, whoa, that word is banned in this house, because it's a word that used to upset me when I was younger. Like, if I was 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, Rory, you're stupid, that angered me. It cuts deep, like, and I'd often get aggressive towards you, because why? I believed it, like. And that's why it makes me really annoyed thinking back to the amount of people who went through generations in Ireland who believed they were stupid when they weren't. They were just a fish out of water. That's one thing that society has opened up the eyes of, that emotional intelligence is a massive thing that isn't really rewarded in school. Like, it's all about academic, like, which sickens me even to this day. Like, I see all they're talking about, everyone's leaving, and I don't, like, I do talks in schools, and I'm not going in there to say don't worry about school, don't go in, you don't need it. Of course I'm not saying it, but I'm just saying is like, don't leave these doors feeling stupid because of the system, because it's not your fault. It's not, it's literally out, and it's not the teacher's fault, the principal's fault, it's the powers above that are still dinosaurs, like when it comes to it. And that's the way I look at it. And I would sit in front of anyone and say that. I'd sit in the rocks and say, I believe I'm right here. And I'm not saying I am, I believe from my experience. And I've spoken to so many people all over the country. I've spoken to teachers in schools that agree with me, principals that agree with me. But unfortunately, the union there that still believe everything has to be based on 2 weeks writing, you know, at the end of the summer, which is... Imagine you've really bad anxiety over the smallest thing. How are you going to perform over that? It's like if you're a very good footballer or golfer or musician. If you've massive anxiety, how are you meant to perform at your best? You're not. You perform at your best when you're relaxed. Everyone does. So how are you meant to be relaxed when everything you've done for 16 years or whatever it is based on 2 weeks of writing? You know what I mean? I just...
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. And I think as years go on, it'll make less and less sense. You know what I mean? Like, I really, really do believe that. And it's something that I want to use my platform every day for that, because I don't want anyone to feel like I did in school, because it's a horrible, cold, empty feeling when you feel inadequate. It really is. Like, and you're not. You just need to be helped to find, you know, the Ferrari in your brain. You know what I mean? That's the way I look at dyslexic is there's a Ferrari in there, you just have to find the keys. But often the keys are hidden away because of stuff that's out of your control. But it's about finding it, you know.
And that's, I think, one of the things that's come up with lots of the conversations that we've had over the past while on the podcast is about the school system is tough because it's forcing you to study and to learn things that you're not potentially interested in. But when you find your thing, when you find a thing that you're passionate about and that you love and that you get obsessed about and you put all your focus into it, that's where people really take flight. You mentioned you did LCA in school, so for anyone that's listening from outside Ireland or watching from outside Ireland, it's the final exams in a more applied way, which is what my eldest is doing, and I'm only learning about LCA in the last year or so, and it's a really good program, isn't it, where you can kind of you can find your niche.
Yeah, like LCA was only, you know, a tadpole, will say, back when I done it. It was only a few years old, like, and it was very stigmatized. Like, I remember, you know, even in graduation, like when the LCAs were called up, there is that, here comes the let's count apples, you know, here comes the dunce people. And you know, I used to kind of like, I used to feel that, like, and again, because I was so well known in the school, everyone knew me, like I was like captain of the football team and I was the big lad that kind of no mess with in school, like, but not a bully way, just everyone knew me. So, you know, I could kind of, like, I never really heard it, you know, it hit my face, but I could feel it, and I could feel it from my other fellow LCA students. But like, for me, it was definitely the two most enjoyable years in school, without a doubt. But I actually enjoy going into school because we were nearly given a bit of a license, like we could be ourselves. There was a bit of cursing that went on in the classroom, like the teacher might say, come on now, like, tone it down, but like we could curse without being kicked out of class. And teachers treated us like adults, like, you know, they really did. And I had a couple of, you know, great teachers. My tutor, Caroline Matches her name, she's still in Ashbourne School now. She used to, on a Friday, say, right, Rory, sing a few songs there, tell us a few stories. So she gave me the platform at 17 or 18 that I was craving all my life, but in primary school or you know, there was no way, you know, of getting away with that. I was just, give us your journal, you know, and the journal was full of distracts others easily, you know, doesn't pay attention, you know, could do better. Like, my journal is just so full of that nonsense, like, but she, LCA and herself, gave me that. So I personally would recommend anyone who doesn't enjoy school but wants to stay there, LCA is built for you, like, brilliant. You know what I mean?
Well, I've seen it with my eldest, who I've never seen the child so happy in school as since going in and completing the first year and doing brilliant in the first year of LCA. And I knew nothing about it before then, you know. So, so when you were leaving school then, what did you think you were going to do, or what direction did you think your life was going to go? Doubt you thought you were going to be a 4 or 5 time best-selling author at that stage. No. Well,
I'd be lying if I said that would be a possibility. That just, it comes with taking the first step, doesn't it? And then you just don't know where it leads you to. But even being a comedian, or, you know, standing up in in front of theatres telling people stories. Like, there probably was that, you know, that's that kind of little bit of glimmer of hope way back in my head, because in Ireland, the fairy tale job is never really dangled in front of you. It's always seems to be America where this. In Ireland, you know, we're always stuck with, you know, you need to go to school, you need to get a leaving cert, you need to get a college degree, you need to get yourself a pension and a mortgage, and then die down the road there. As human beings, that's all we're meant to do. Like, and I'm like, hold on a minute, like that's nonsense. Like, do you know what I mean? And that's, but I believe that myself, and that's where my head went on me in my mid-20s, because I tried to be an electrician, useless. Tried to work, you know, in you know, Quinn Direct Insurance, very, like, didn't know what I was doing, because I'm dyslexic, and like I probably peaked in 4th class academically, so I didn't know what people were even saying in these emails. I was just deleting them as they were coming in, like, which probably, you know, is not the right thing to do.
Keeping the inbox nice and empty.
I know, everyone blaming Sean Quinn, and yeah, we'll try Rory O'Connor for the root of that problem, like, so. So yeah, but there was never something, like, you know, there for me, like, to go and do, because college, like, I couldn't, like, I done LSA, so I couldn't really go to college, even though, like, you know, like, I'd love to go and prove to people that I have acting ability, or I have storytelling ability, but there's no, you still have to hit this criteria of 400 points to get into this drama courses. And, you know, you often see, you know, people that do all these drama courses, and then they get out and they're just overactors then, like, you know, they're not natural. Like, you know what I mean? You go and listen to lads on a building site or in a canteen and work, and they're proper funny actors, comedians. You know what I mean? They're in the wrong lane, where you have these people that go and do 10 or 11 years and they're quoting them, like, no offense to any of them, but like, you can see they're trying too hard. They're not naturally, you know, gifted kind of storytellers, and they're gifted storytellers are all over this country. Like, there's so many people that could do what I do, no doubt about it. My best mate is without a doubt funnier than me, but he's like, no way would I go near that stage, like. And that's the fear of people, you know, I suppose, caring or slagging or whatever it is. But that is the case with Irish people, is we're afraid to kind of do something that's different. And I wasn't afraid to do it, because I danced with the devil. I was at rock bottom. I was in a very difficult place in my head, and
When was that? When was rock bottom? So you were saying you did, you know, you tried the
electrical work, tried call centres, and then went to Australia, came home, and then worked in a call centre. And yeah, that's mid-20s, like, was when the real internal chat was like, you know, you're in your mid-20s, you've no college degree, you've no apprenticeship, you've no leaving cert, you know, how are you ever going to have a house? How are you ever going to have a car? How are you ever going to provide? I had a 1-year-old child at the time. How are you ever going to provide for her? And it really bogged me down, like, you know, like, it was kind of thinking that, well, like, you'll work really hard, and you'll get a promotion in a call centre, and you'll still be fighting against life. Your kids will never be able to go on holidays. And if you keep telling yourself this, what will happen is addiction will start to become your best friend, because of coping mechanism, alcohol, drugs, gambling. And gambling was my kind of try to lift my humour, like, and again, undiagnosed ADHD back then, like pretty much everyone my age. And I didn't understand how my brain worked then. So in other words, I was never satisfied. The dopamine was never filled. I was always buzzed. Give us another bet. Okay, once that bet wins, I'll try tomorrow. So I could never understand how people could just go in and get a tip, put it on, lose, and don't bet for 2 weeks. I was like, how can anyone do that? I couldn't get my head around being in the bookies, backing dogs, horses, virtual, the heart, whatever was moving, and a man would come in, €50 on a tip he got, and then he wouldn't see him for 2 weeks. And I'm looking, going, how can anyone do that? But now I know it's because of how my brain works. Like, but again, awareness wasn't even there 10 years ago or 15 years ago. So, so that was my kind of go-to. So that between that, and then my self-esteem like burning away, like my head started to go on me, and that's where, yeah, really depressed, like, to be honest, really
and the
kind
recession and everything else.
Everything was miserable, like, tough times, like, you know, like, you can say what you want, and I'm all for equality and all that, don't get me wrong, but there is just, I don't know whether it's in us, but there is a sense of a man of the house feeling responsible. And I'm not, don't get me wrong, I'm all for equal rights, but it's just, I believe it's like the mother and the baby. There's a different bond there than we will ever have. That comes from birth and pregnancy. There's that special bond. Who do we want when we're sick? We want our mammy. Like the daddies are the mammy. And it's the same way. We can have all this, but it's just the way we've been reared, that like, I have a family now and I need to provide for this family. And if you have to kind of, fail in that department, you will start to feel useless. And that happens to lots of men. And that's a very horrible place to be in, when you feel, you see your child, not getting the stuff her friends are getting because you haven't enough money to pay for it. That's low. And I don't want any man to feel like that, because that's where your depression can really go on you, and can really, and all of a sudden they're better off without me. And that's where you really need to get help. That's where you need to say, I need help here.
Yeah.
Because how many times has a person made that decision, taken their life, and anyone you meet that knows him, oh my God, what a legend. Couldn't believe it when I heard the news. That guy would do anything for me. I'm distraught. I don't know what to think. And I know how the individual feels, because if you feed yourself with enough negativity, that demon will start to really turn the tide, and he'll start to say, no, you're, no matter what you do, you're wrong. And it's nearly like, it's very difficult to talk when you're in, like, it's okay not to feel okay, but it's very hard to talk. Like when the devil's on your shoulder and the black dog is hanging out with you, it's very hard for me to turn around to anyone and say, I'm actually very suicidal at this moment in time. I don't know what to do. That's very hard. But I always say to people, when you feel yourself feeling a bit better, and the weight, and suddenly the thought in your head last week is not much of a thought or a powerful thought as it was last week, don't ignore that. I always say to me, you can't, that will come back to you. That will come scratching again. And at least when it comes back again, people are aware of it. And you don't have to put on the mask as much. And that's what I believe in my experience and speaking to a lot of people, is when you're feeling yourself after a bad period, don't let on you are 100% then, because that kettle will boil again in your head, and suddenly you'll be back to that negative headspace. So that's kind of where I was without knowing I was. You know what I mean? Talk to someone. Why should they just call me soft or windy or I need to kick up the arse? I'm meant to be a big strong fella, like, you know what I mean? Like people look up to me.
Do you think people are better at talking about that kind of stuff now than they were even going back 10 years ago?
Oh yeah. I think now, not as much as you would like to think. Like my dad's generation, like, I'm not labeling everyone, but I'd like to say there's a high percentage of them that would rather die than admit stuff. Like, I really do believe that, and that's okay. That's generational. It's like, speak to me father when the referendum came about same-sex marriage. He's like, oh, there's no such thing as gay men back in them days. I'm like, hold on a minute. Like, of course there was. It's just, when I was in school, Donal, like, if you wore a pink t-shirt, yeah, you're queer, up, you're gay and all. And this was in my whole primary or secondary school, I think there was 2 lads in the 2 years I was in fifth that came out. 2 out of how many lads came out, like, do you know what I mean? And they were really, we'll say, camp. So they, fair play, they didn't care. They were like, we'll say, as gay as you can get in a nice way, whatever way you want to word it. But it's the lads who are kind of, on that fence. Yeah. There was no way were they going to come out. And I don't blame them. And it's very sad. It's very sad that they can't. And you go back a generation to my dad's, and there's no way. There was 100% men who lived a full life with kids who are 100% attracted to the same sex. There's no doubt about it. Like, you can't, human beings don't just change over time. But we were so, Catholic Church, and we all had to do the right thing. There's no way you could ever mention that. I'd rather take it to the graves. And you'd even wonder how many suicides over them years were down to sexuality. I'd say a lot. Yeah. People couldn't accept, I am gay and I'm in a relationship. The only way out for me is I need to kill myself here. I can't open up here because I'll be letting down my family, I'll be letting down my kids. I can't turn to the Catholic Church or talk to, whatever they used to do, confessions or anything like that. You know what I mean? And I feel so sorry for that generation. Like, now, it's the dial has probably gone a bit
the other way,
one way now, where it's like, right, let's catch up a bit here before we identify as cats and dogs. Let's just catch up here. Let's catch up here for a second on everything. But it's definitely a positive overall, without a shadow of a doubt. And it's great for people to be able to leave their house and just be themselves and not have society look at them in a really weird way, like, or condemn them. Like, that's... People
are definitely more accepting now, aren't they? More tolerant.
Yeah.
So, going back to to the time when you started Rory Stories, like you'd obviously dealt with some pretty tough times, but you turned to comedy and observation. That's a weird mix, isn't it? So were you starting at a time when you were going through periods where you were feeling pretty shit about yourself, and but still having the energy to dedicate into comedy and observation and sketches? Or how did that all
Yeah, so
balance
so
and
so
start?
I suppose it was a mixture of two things. One was in 2013 was when I hit my low, and I asked for help. You know, in a short way of putting it, I asked for help, and I met with an addiction counsellor, Jerry Cooney, and he spoke to me about addiction and how it basically never leaves you, you know, but you have to find something to fill the void. And I understood what he meant, and he said, you need to find something now to channel that energy that you were used to saying, oh, who's running tonight in Clonmel or Man United, or, you know, even money to beat Liverpool, whatever, like all that nonsense. You need to replace that with something else to basically, your brain doesn't know any different, you know, but you're not, you know, ruining your life by getting into debt or whatever. I understand you. So I started to do a blog called Rory Stories, which, you know, just writing stories about myself and throwing them online, and obviously terrified of what people think of me. But it's funny when you do hit a really low and you feel like you've nothing to lose, you're a bit of a dangerous animal then, 'cause you don't care. Like, you genuinely don't care. It's like, oh, listen, I often say, if you can control the devil within, the devil outside can do no harm. So if I'm in control of my brain, people outside are all just like, you know, it's just little noise. It's how high or low you put the volume in your head is up to yourself. But in general, it's just opinions or whatever. So I was good at that, and I just kept ploughing on, and then, you know,
I didn't realize it. So it started with actual stories rather than sketches.
yeah. If you Google Rory Stories blog, there's a blog there. There's about maybe 12 or 13 stories in it.
And did they take off, or was
Yeah,
it,
no,
was
there
it quick
was.
take
Yeah,
off,
like,
slow take
like
off?
I think there's about 70 or 80,000 page views of the blog. So like good numbers. Like a fella, Kieran Lennon from Screen, I used to play football with and against. He helped me set it up, like, you know, fair play to him, and I tortured him because he was the one who was kind of proofing it for me, because I couldn't spell, so he was doing a bit of edits on me, and probably thinking, oh, this lad's a nut job. But I remember saying to him, I said, I'm going somewhere. I remember, and I always chat to him even recently, and he's like, man, like, I never thought like in any way you were going to go. And I didn't know either, but I had a good gut feeling, and I always talk about gut feelings and talks that you need to listen to that gut feeling. It's there for a reason. It's like your second brain. Your brain in your head will always take the conservative, oh no, what if I fail? What if I blah blah blah? But if you have the strength to listen to your gut feeling, that's when I believe you'll start to really make sense of who you are and why you're on this planet. Like, that's what I believe, and that's what we started to do. And like, see, nowadays there's obviously content creators in every corner, and
Everyone's a content creator.
a content creator, like, you know, and you've TikTok, and you know, it's easy to, you know, grow 1 million followers and very quickly, like. But then back then there wasn't even Instagram around, it was just Facebook and YouTube, and I didn't know what I was doing. I was just recording on my iPhone 4, which it looks like I recorded stuff on a solid turf, like how bad it is on YouTube, but I didn't know any different. I got a fella to help me set up a Facebook page, didn't know anything about that, about all
So
these.
what was the early, when you moved from the blog to the sketches? Do you remember what were the early sketches that you did, or what's the earliest one you can remember?
Yeah, one of the first one was I was training with my club Donoghue on a Sunday morning, and I got a mate up to stand in a corner with a camera, like a proper whatever old-fashioned camera, and I said to the team, I said, lads, I'm just going to give you a set of jerseys, so I'm going to go in here and pretend it's half-time of county final, and just sit there and try not laugh, basically. And I stood outside the room, and I just done a deep breath, and I walked in. I looked like hilarious. I had this like duck hunter hat on me and glasses. I looked like a character from the Unbelievables, and in I went, and I just off the cuff started slating all the lads. Like, not one bit of it was scripted, and there's a couple of probably you know, John Kenny and Pat Short lines in it like that from listening to the Delhi and the all the over the years, like. And but it was pretty funny, like, and I put it up on Facebook, and then what happened was, I think it was like Balls.e or Jody got wind of this and put up, this hilarious sketch by, and I was like, wow, I thought this was the be all and end. I was like, wow. And then the penny dropped, and no one's really done GEA skits before, like, and zoned in. So I just went hammer and tong. Paddy Murphy was in a lot of videos in the early days. Me and him and whoever would help out just started going down every Saturday, filming 3 sketches and posting them on Facebook, say Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And within 6 months, there was like 100,000 likes. Like, there's no since followers, it was all these likes on your page.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God. And I remember people messaging me going, oh my God, Rory, I met my cousin and they said, have you seen these Rory stories? Like, oh, I know him well and all this kind of stuff. And this is back 2014, like, 10 years ago now. And then it just went from there. Then I again got another fella to help me set up a YouTube channel. I hadn't a breeze how to do that. And I set up the YouTube channel and started uploading the videos on that. And then it moved then to, I was asked to do a night in a GA crew, which I agreed to. And I died on my arse, wasn't ready for it. Like, I completely, like, froze and I think nearly gave them their money back. It was that bad. And that was the first time I realised, oh shit, like, what am I doing here? Like,
this is a big change.
This
from
isn't good crack.
sketches
Yeah,
to
yeah,
live,
this
isn't
isn't
it?
actually good. And I literally remember going home and I didn't sleep a wink that night. And I remember my wife being like, I was like, I can't do this. Like, that was horrific. Like, and I wasn't ready for it. And I remember apologising to the committee and saying, oh, listen, I'll train your minor team for whatever. And, you're not talking 200 or 300 euro here, but I was, I take it back, I don't want it. And I was rattled. And I remember going home and the best thing that ever happened was the following Saturday night, a club in the north had already booked me. And it's all I wanted to do was tell them that I can't make it. I would have said I lost my leg not to go to that, anything. And my wife, being a strong woman, she says, you can't, Rory, you can't back out now. You need to do this. And I was so nervous. I was still working in a job like in CPL there, working. And then all in my head was this. I remember driving up north. You talk about sick in your stomach. I was so nervous. And whatever way the universe works, I walked into the room and the minute I opened my mouth, they just loved me. They loved every story, every joke, and I absolutely lapped it up for an hour. And I was on some high driving back up the M1. I was like, that's it. I'm ready for the 3 Arena. I'm going to book it next week. Here I go. Yeah. And
isn't it? Because the thing about it is, when you think about sport or you think about work, you learn more in the losses than you do on the... you take more out of the tough days, don't you?
Yeah.
And that whole piece about courage, and people talk a lot about resilience now and everything, but it's that bit something, and partly your wife, partly yourself, that made you go again. If you had, like at that crossroads, if you had gone the other way, who knows,
well,
would you be on the same path now?
Probably not. No, and like I'm not. It's not just GA. I'm obviously a very biased GA man, but like, I remember speaking to Kieran Donoghue about this before, basically saying that like we don't understand until we're adults how much life lessons the GA has taught us as human beings. Like, what does it teach you at a young age? It teaches you commitment, discipline, respect, and learning to deal with failure. Like, and like, I've lost many a big championship match where we should have won. I didn't perform. I know I didn't perform. And that dirty feeling of walking into your local GA club and all the old lads that will barely look at you, and you have to soul search yourself and sit there and suck your thumb and have a pint of Guinness. But you still have to go train on a Tuesday night. You couldn't just say, I'm not playing football anymore.
Yeah,
and
you
then
can't sulk.
And then the chances are you'll have a Hoover game the following week. Like, you know what I mean? And that's here I was going into Rory's stories. And deep within me has had that resilience going, Rory, like, if you lost a championship match here, are you going to just say you're not playing the following week? Like, what kind of a human being are you? You're going to get on with it. So, as you said, between my wife and me, knowing that feeling, but the thing is, but the following week is there was 15 lads going out onto that pitch with me, like, you know what I mean? So not only was the result based on me, but there was other lads that had to perform as well. But on that stage, if I don't perform, it's a shit show, you know what I mean? And but the beauty of it is, it's like Shane Lowry playing golf, is all the losses land on your shoulders, but the wins all also land on your shoulders. So all the accolades that 15 or 20 lads get after a championship win, you get all that in one if you perform on. So it's such a risk reward. But I'm a gambler. Like, even though I don't gamble anymore, I haven't been in the bookies, I'm still a gambler, because that's gambling. Like, you're going out there going, I just hope these laugh. You know what I mean? And I've been on, like, I'm starting my new tour in September, my third nationwide tour. I could tell a story in Cavan, tonight, and tomorrow night tell the same story in Monaghan or in Galway, and they won't laugh. Like, it's the same story. So you just don't know what's on. So, but that always sticks in my head, that the best thing that ever happened was I had a club booked the following week.
Yeah.
Because if I didn't, I could have said it's not for me. But the fact I did and I had to do it was and it's just been, and listen, that just wasn't the first high and low. The high and low has continued still do. But that's what I try to say to young people is when you fail, it's okay to fail. It's okay to feel low, but what's not okay is to pitch your tent and say, this is my destiny. I'm not meant to do this. That's bullshit. You have to tell yourself, no, it doesn't feel nice, but you go and find anyone who's successful that hasn't felt that feeling of I failed. You know what I mean? Like, look at Michael Jordan, look at Tiger Woods playing in the USPGA, and he looks like a man who's really burnt out, and he's still showing up, and he's still not afraid to go out and shoot way over and miss a cut, because that's what makes him Tiger Woods. Like, you know what I mean? It's just, you are who you are. Like, you know, I listened to podcasts with Conor McManus from Monaghan there recently, the GA social one, and he was saying about having to get every part of his body strapped up before matches. And I'm like, Manzi, like, you're an absolute hero in Monaghan. What are you doing? Like, why do you have to do this? You don't have to prove that to anyone. That's who he is. Like,
Yeah.
That's what they're built on. Katie Taylor's the same. Like if Katie Taylor retired 3 years ago, would her legacy be any more than it will be in 3? No, but Katie wants to be the best, and she feels she still can offer, and that's what makes great, you know, individuals great, is that kind of relentless. I've won nothing, I'm back here again with a fresh sheet, and that's
ready to go again.
Yeah, and that's. But they didn't get there by pulling out of the match or the gig or the occasion the following week. They didn't. Been like, people think that they never experienced failure. Of course they did. Yeah.
Tell us about the stage when you decided to go full time, because that's always an interesting one. You know, you've obviously you developed Rory Stories to a certain level, but that decision to pack in the job and to kind of go full time with it.
Yeah. So in a way, I think there was a bit like, you know, Rory Stories, like, you know, all my life it's like, oh, come on, Rory, what's the story? Like, that's all anyone's ever said to me. Like, and like, Rory Stories is now my brand name. So you have to have your, and I think this comes down to most intelligence. You have to have your eyes and your heart and your soul open all the time to look for signs. And I worked in CPL, and they were given redundancy, and I was one of the people they probably wanted to get rid of because I wasn't great in my job. But in fairness, my old manager Ellen Miles, she said to me, and I believe it was honest, and it was caring, and she said, Rory, I honestly think you should take this, because I think what you're doing with Rory Stories, there's something happening there. And I really do believe she meant that, not to get this useless hero out of job. I think it was that she really felt it, I was doing something. And so I took the redundancy, and it wasn't mad money. It was maybe 6 months or a year max to keep you going. But then I was offered a sales job, and that was from Rory Stories. A fella got on to me saying, oh, you know, Rory Stories is starting to be known in GA circles now, so you go into pubs in Portlaoise or Tullamore or Drogheda, and they might know you, and you might sell this gadget. And the gadget was, in hindsight, a pile of shite, really. Like, and the whole thing went a few months later, and again I was let go. And that's when I said, right, enough's enough now. Like, and I had 6 weeks lined up, say, of GA clubs to go to, and I said to my wife, I'm going to go for this. Like I said, 6 weeks at a time is all we need to worry about, because if any human being thinks of what about the mortgage in 10 years, well, then you might as well not start. So don't think too far ahead. So I had the 6 weeks. Once my calendar had enough money to pay the bills and feed the family, I'll do it. Like, there's times where we couldn't get a carvery on a Sunday, and like I was driving my lovely deceased Granny B, I was driving her Polo, like an 05 Polo. I had no money to buy a car, and that was getting me by. And that's where your vision is very hard to see. Like, that's where, like, where I am today is very difficult to see then, but that's okay. But don't worry too far ahead. It's like a young child looking up at the stairs, and it's like Mount Everest, but just get over the first step. And then when you're up in the first, then go up the second, but don't look behind you, because if you look behind you, you're going to fall. So keep going up and up, and eventually you've climbed the stairs. Same with anyone with a kind of a vision for themselves, and that's what I done. And the big thing is my wife backed me, like, you know what I mean. She
so important, isn't it?
She did. She backed me, and you know, and you know, I like to think, you know, I'm paying her back now. Like, you know, I'm a limited company, and she would say works, like, but does like deals account and all that, and I'm very proud of that. That, like, she backed me, and now it's like, I want you now. We still have a young family, so anyone will agree that a stay-at-home mother is way harder than any job out there. And anyone who thinks any different doesn't have kids in the house. Rearing young kids, especially in today's world, is a very hard job. And I would never disrespect her by saying, oh, sure, home with the kids. I'd rather be working than, especially during summer holidays and that. So that is a very hard job. But at least, you know, the price of childcare is mad at the minute. So we done the maths up saying, well, we pay childcare and you get a job. we're still going to be in the same position. So if you stay at home, well then, we'll cut out that cost. And it has been tough, like, the last few years, but we're getting there now. And, she's a bit of freedom now. The little one's in play school from 9 to 1, and my son has started primary school, and my daughter's starting secondary school next year. So
it gets a bit easier.
Yeah. And she deserves that, you know what I mean? And I'm very, very proud to take all the punches and scars along the road, because when the dust settles and things aren't going well for me, who's there? Your wife is, or your partner, whoever. And that's very important. Like, do you know what I mean? I always say, I can deal with anything said about me from people that don't know who I am, as long as my family and friends know what I'm about. That's all anyone should care about. Because you're going to have people that have an opinion. But I always say, before you let that opinion pay rent in your head, ask yourself, one, do you respect their opinion? Or do you have respect for that human being? 9 times out of 10 answers no. So why are you taking on board what they have to say to you? What have they achieved to tell you you're not doing something wrong? And once you understand that, haters and all, or begrudgers, they become a lot less noise in your head, like, because you can look at it one way. You can value their opinion and let it pay rent in your head, or you can stop and say, well, there's a reason why they have to say this about you. And the reason generally is they're not happy in the life they live. Because I'm too busy to sit on my phone and write negative comments about someone. I've too much going on. But they clearly don't. So either give them what they want, which is, you try to do what I do, or just ignore them.
Yeah.
Because ignoring them, as my mother always says, don't stoop to their level. And eventually, they go away, and that's it. But what happens is, and I've seen it, everyone messes up or does something, and they come out of the long grass. And I told you about him or her, blah, blah, blah. And that's fine. If you're waiting, sitting at home with your Pringles and your Netflix, and you're doing nothing with yourself, and you're waiting for someone that you don't like to fuck up, that's sad. Like, do you know what I mean?
It
That
says
is
more
sad.
about them.
It says more about them, like, So that's my wife has been such a pillar, like, to me, like, and like, we're going out with each other since we're 18, like, I'm very lucky to have that, like, do you know what I mean? Obviously when I was 18, 19, going, love to maybe a few years, go out and have the crack or mess around or whatever, but like, my gut feeling told me. And I remember when I met her, I remember saying, there's something here, like, and people often say about, is it, you do, in my experience, like, I knew. And I remember actually saying, Jesus Christ, I'm only 18 now and that's me done. I actually remember saying that, and I remember saying, and like, you laughed at this, and I said, she was from a group of girls from Blanchardstown. And there was times I said, is she the best looking in the group? Probably not. From a look, but there was something about her. There was something that, why, and she ignored me at the start. Usually I'd be cocky going, there's loads of fish and that, but there was something in the back of the head, and I was like, why is this girl not getting out of my head? And that was your instinct, that was your intuition, that was everything telling you need to take action here. And I did, and
you were right.
I was right, never look back. Here we are, married. We're married, 7 years this year, 3 lovely kids, and happy, you know what I mean? Now, we row like everyone else, like, if people tell you that they get on with each other every day of the week, someone is getting their hole elsewhere. That's the way I look at it. Like, presume we can edit some of this, but anyway.
No way, this is good stuff.
Yeah, but...
Go back for a second to when you were leaving CPL, because you had a lovely full circle moment with what your old manager said to you when you were going.
Yeah, so when I'd started making the sketches, Ella Miles, her name, she was my manager at the time, and the World Cup was on. I remember something happened, I can't remember what it was, but it was very topical. And like, back then, like, there wasn't really anyone doing it, so it was nearly waiting for me to do it. Like, do you know what I mean? Nowadays, like, there's so much content creators, and as you said, there's no such thing as robbing material anymore, because there's like different versions of everything out there in the minute. Like, everyone does their own version of whatever their comedy is. But back then, I was kind of waiting. So anyway, I remember going up there and I said, Anna, can I chat to you for a minute? She said, I said, I can bullshit you and tell you I have a bit of a dodgy cough, or I have a sore tummy, but I don't. I said, there's something that have to happen in the World Cup, and I would love to make a Roller Star sketch in it, but if I don't do it soon, it'll be old news. Can I leave early today and I'll work up the time tomorrow? And she says, Rory, absolutely no problem, on one condition. And I was expecting to say, I want you to work, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I said, yeah, no bother. Whenever you're on the Late Late Show, I want you to give me tickets. And I just looked at her going, what? She goes, whenever you're on the Late Late Show, I want tickets. And I just thought to myself, wow, like, that's mad. Like, does she believe me that much? And anyway, long story short, about 9 or 10 years after that moment, I was sitting beside Ryan Tuberty on the Late Late and promoting my fourth book, and I told Ryan the story, and there was Ellen in the crowd, and I stood up and I gave her a big hug, like, and I nearly cried, like, because it was such a surreal moment, like. And I remember when I heard I was going to be on the Late Late Show, I sent her a message on Facebook, and she replied back going, God, I've been waiting a few years for this text. So happy for you. Would love to go. And it even gets me emotional thinking about it. But that's all it took, is someone to believe in you. Like, and I say, Ellen, what? She goes, there was just something. It's like when I meet someone now. Like, I met a young fella at a talk from Drimna who struggled with his mental health, with his diagnosis of ADHD, dyslexic, and he's ranked number 2 or 3 UFC in Ireland at the minute, and he's a cut of a fella. He's a fella that would slap the ears off. You know by him, he's wiry, hardy. And I felt nothing but glowing off him. And as I'm telling you here now, pal, I feel it from your soul. I feel it. You are going to be in Las Vegas in a few years' time. I'm telling you here now, is all I want from you is, I'm off the gambling, but I'll go to New York if you're in New York or whatever, but I want tickets. I said it to him, I said, I want tickets to your big fight. And he looked at me and he was like, this lad's a lunatic. And I was only paying back the favour that Ellen told me. Now, whether he does or not, and I said, listen, man, I can feel it off you. So what I want you to do is, I want you to get through the bad days. If you need to suck your thumb and mind yourself and watch Netflix, you do it. But see, when you're on form, you go for it, and you let nothing stop you, because I can feel it like an aura off you. Because even during the talk, he was standing out for me. I don't know what it was. There was a connection. I could see him, and I could see him relating to what I was saying. And just as I was leaving the school, I got tapped on the shoulder, and he said, can I talk to you? And I just went, wow, there's this lad. And he went on to tell me a story, and I followed him. I followed him back on Instagram, and I'm keeping an eye on him now, and I wish him the best of luck. But I just told him what I was told when I was in his situation, and I went on to do it, and I really hope and believe he does, like, you know.
Wouldn't that be magic to see that come full circle again? And we'll have him on the podcast when he does it.
Yeah, and he'll be able to back me up that it was a true story, like, you know. And like, it's like, I remember listening to Denzel Washington when I was climbing the ladder, and his saying of, you know, you need to send the elevator back down. Like, I love that, like, do you know what I mean? I love that, and that's why, you know, if he does, you know, go on to do that, is only I want out of him. There's going to be time in his life when a fan's going to come up to him, and you need to give that fan the attention I gave you, the attention Ella gave me, because that's what will end begrudgery in Ireland, is be one, teach one, instead of worrying or caring or being, you know, jealous of what to do. Use as inspiration. You know what I mean? I couldn't tell you if he is or isn't a UFC fighter, or sorry, how good he is, but I just got an aura of, wow, this chap is legit and he knows where he's going. Like Conor McGregor would have had in his early days. Conor was one of the original people that had that kind of,
there was
you know, there was a glow off him, like, you know. And, you know, yes, you know, there was a lot of stuff there I don't agree with what I've done over a number of years, but for that time, 2015, 16, he was inspirational for me, like, you know what I mean? He was like, you know, and again, things went wobbly or whatever it was, but at that moment, he was one of them people that I looked at going, wow, like, you know, he's talking like Irish people don't really talk. Like, he's saying it as it is, and he's backing it up.
And he's backing it up.
You know, and that's, you have to credit that, you know what I mean?
Tell me something, you kind of touched on it there, like, as the thing grew, and like, what, it's now over 1 million followers and all that. What's it like? You must get recognised in the street all the time. How do you deal with that, or what's that like?
Yeah, it's like fame is funny, like, you know. I've always been famous, and before I that sounds in any way arrogant. What I mean by that is, I was always way bigger than everyone else in school. Like, and anyone again that went to school would say he's 100% right there. Everyone knew me in school because I was genuinely a giant. Like, I remember, like, parents used to say, "What's the story with your man? Like, was he kept back 7 or 8 years?" Like, I was being served in pubs when I was 14, no questions asked. Like, I was a giant of a chap, so everyone knew me. So I was used to that, and even then we went, like, you know, when I played under 12 and under 10 GA, my manager had to have a birth cert with him. Facts, like, I was this giant, like, so whenever people started to recognise me, you know, I was kind of easily able to manage that. Now, do I like it? Not really. Now, like, I don't really. there's times where, like, you know, if I'm not feeling myself, I don't like going into like busy places where people look at me because I get in my own head a bit. But in general, I like talking to people. That's the, like, I'm a people's person. I enjoy conversations, and that's where it's probably not too bad for me, because if people come up to me, they're not annoying me at all. I love chatting. Don't be, oh, I'm so sorry, you must be plague ass for folks. No. That's fine, and it's funny how life teaches you lessons. When I was 16, now I won't name the person because it's not nice to do that, but a very well-known singer in Ireland was performing in a venue, and I was there with my dad. I was only 16, and my dad says, go ask him for his autograph. And I walked up, and I said, sorry, I'm a big fan, can I have your autograph? And he just says, I'm busy, and he brushed me out of the way, like. And I still remember this to this day. Like, I still remember the exact point of the venue. I remember everything about it. And here I am, like, you know, 25 or 8 years time, people asking me for a selfie or whatever, and like, and I have that perspective, and you just, you know, it is what it is, and you know, it's I wouldn't change it. But what I love about it is the people that come up to me, it's always about, you know, the work I do regarding mental health. Like, it's you're a gas lad, but thank you so much for how you've spoken. I've read your book, and I watched on that Ultimate Hell Week. A lot of people watched that and seeing, I suppose, my real kind of emotions that are in me, and it is what it is, and that makes me continue. Just, Rory, I'm not going to say much. Just keep doing what you're doing and walk away. You know, that's perfect. Like, it's just walk up. It's people just walk up and say, I just want to shake your hand, thank you, and walk away. And I've had that, and that's beautiful. Like, I could speak to that man for an hour, but that was powerful. And these are big, hardy, strong, up to 67 years of age, just want to shake your hand, thank you. I'm not going to annoy you, I just want to say, and walk away.
That's nice, isn't it?
It's beautiful. Like, it really, and it's like, wow, like, you know, because at the end of the day, like, your impact on others is the most valuable currency there is. Like, and that's, you know, obviously everyone has to get paid for what they do, but for me, it's the stuff you do away from the lights. Like, you know what I mean? Ray Goggins, I know he's a friend of yours as well, told me great when he said, judge a man for what he can do for someone that can do nothing for him. Like, I love that. Like,
very true.
That's so true. Like, you know what I mean? That's how you judge a character. Like, you judge someone that can do something for someone that person can do nothing for them. I just want to do it for them. And that's what it's, and that for me, that's why it's called feed the soul. Feed your soul. Like, how do you feed your soul? You do good things. Like, if you can help someone out, you help someone out. Now, you know, you have to get used to saying no, which is something I've gotten better. Still definitely not where I'd like to be. But I like helping others. I do, like, you know, and if I can do you a turn, I will. And if I can't, there's a reason I can't. It's either I haven't the capacity to deal with it right now myself, because I have a family and all. But if I can, I will. And like, I love seeing people do well. Like, I really do. Like, because life is hard. Like, you know, if you can help someone out, help someone out. Like, you know what I mean? Don't go around like Mary Poppins, obviously. But you know what I mean? Don't be an arsehole either. Like, you know what I mean? If you can help someone out, you know, because you don't know what that person has went through to ask you for that help. Probably like struggle to ask, and by you just giving them the little bit of a gesture, that could make them, you know what I mean?
Can make all the difference.
Yeah, you know.
Tell me a bit about life now, because you've got, you know, you've written books, you're creating a load of content, and as you said, now everyone's a content creator. So how do you structure your weeks now between creating content, coming up with ideas, being creative, writing, the TV stuff? How do you balance everything?
Yeah, routine is probably important. Like, you know, exercise is very important for my anxiety, and cold water therapy. Like, I'm a big ice bath head. Like, yeah, I have an ice bath in my back garden that I get into every morning. Obviously, these days it's harder to keep it as cold. Like, I do have a freezer and I put in blocks of ice, but you know, like, it helps me, like, because.
What do you do? Like a minute or a couple of minutes? Or?
About 4 to 6 minutes. So I generally do. I've gotten big into stretching recently, which I wish I had of years ago. Stretching is like, and I was forced to. I'm aiming to run the Dublin Marathon this year, and I was doing quest adventure race for that, and I hurt my quad, and I had no choice but to ease off and do the therapy. And now I'm in a good routine of getting up. I go out my back garden, have a bit of ash there, I lay down a yoga mat, and I just stretch for 10 minutes, and I might do a few push-ups or sit-ups, and then get in the ice bath, and then have a lovely coffee and shower, and then I'm ready. The world, let's have you, like, and that just, you know, what can you do today? Because control the controllables, like, do you know what I mean? Like, if like, you know, if you sit there, like for me, even yesterday, I just realized how busy the next few weeks is, and I could feel, I triggered myself, and I woke up out of bed this morning with anxiety like a block on my head.
Why? Because you had so much on, or
Yeah, exactly. Like I didn't use what my self awareness, so I looked at my diary. I have to do this, and then I have to create that, and then I have to, I haven't even started my theory. I'm working this, and then I have to finish off the book, and I have to do this, and then I do this. Oh, just goes, and then all of a sudden, what happens is a trigger goes off in your head, and all of a sudden, anxiety owns you, and you're blank in your head, and you're worried about everything. You need to just deep breaths.
and it's hard to be funny.
Yeah,
if you're
yeah,
feeling
exactly.
like
You know, but then it's like, well, what can I do today? Right, you can do this. I can come in. I've a podcast. I'll do that. And then tomorrow I get up. I'll do that. And then suddenly you start to tick the list. Then you're okay. But like for years, I was like, oh my god, blah, 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 and like anxiety overload, and that's when like you're in this absolute jungle in your head, and it's all self-inflicted. So you have to unwind and like your Christmas lights, you know, every December when you promised you'd put them back neatly, you didn't, and here you are. It's same when you overload your head. Just stop and get this not out, and then this not, and then all of a sudden it's clear, no different in your head. And that's the way it is for me. Like, you know, I'd like to think I'm a grafter. Like, you know, I don't see it, but like the people that work with me, Dave and Amy, they'll say like you're the hardest worker in the room by a mile of who we work with. That's just because I have to be busy. I'll go, yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, no bother. 100 mile an hour all the time. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I have to take a bit of melatonin at night to fall asleep because I'm so wired. Like, and that's, I go to bed at between 9, half 9 most nights during the week because I'm up at 6 either with the kids or with my own routine, and then I'm tired.
it's a real sign you're getting older, isn't it? There's nothing better than getting into bed at 9:30.
I know. I remember the Masters was on, like, and I was like, oh my god, I am so tired. Like, and even last weekend, the PGA was brilliant finish, and when Sheffield had that putt to win, I was like, it was like maybe 12. I was like, please, I'm begging you, from an old man's point of view, put that ball in the hole, because I knew it was a 3-hole playoff, and I knew it wasn't going to go. How could you go to bed with DeChambeau and him in a playoff? So I was like, please, put the fucking ball in the hole. I'm bollocks here. It was only 12 o'clock, like 12 o'clock. Like, if I was going to bed at 12 when I was like, 23, 24, it was an early night. But just that's life, and that's what happens when you get old and you have kids. But yeah, like being content is everything for me. Like, do you know what I mean? And we don't often appreciate it as human beings to stop and just say, today, how are things in your life today? Unbelievably good. Right, well, let that sink in for a minute. Stop worrying about everything that you can. Just think about today. Your kids are healthy. There's food in the fridge. Your wife is there. You have a few good mates. You know, you're happy. Okay, enjoy that.
Yeah, there's something lovely in that. There's something lovely in that. If life never got any better than it is right now, and you can say, I'm happy with that, or I'd be, you know?
Yeah, and we're like, my dad is 70 tomorrow, and I love the bones. I'm like, we row like mad, but he's as legit a dad as you'll ever get. Like, he'd never ever, if I ring him, it's yep. Now we row like mad, but that's okay. And he's 70 now tomorrow. And this week I've been thinking about that a lot, going, he's 70 now. Do you know what I mean? Like, so from now on, like, you know, if he gets anything, touch wood, like, you know what I mean? He just started to think about how quick life goes by. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you know, I have thought a 7-year-old a few years ago, he lived a good old life, you know. Jesus Christ.
70 is young now.
But that's what I'm saying. It is
it?
young
or
now.
Is it that we're just getting older? But I think
listen,
now,
a 7-year-old now compared to 7-year-old in the 90s is worlds apart.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? A 40-year-old in the 80s looked like a 7-year-old now. Like, you get me? You know the way they used to dress and all. So, touch wood, he's fit and healthy. But
you look at Mike Tyson.
Yeah, fighting, like, you know what I mean? So it is, and I remember May said to me, I said, Jace, I can't believe I'm 37. He's like, yeah, but like every year you need to celebrate you live to 37. Think of the amount of people that died at a very young age that never got to live, you know, all them years that we're all seeing. And that's the stuff that you need to embed in your head, try, look at the positive, look at perspective. And it can be hard at times, but that's, for me, is everything. Like, you know, and there's a saying, it's like, you know, if you're healthy, you have loads of problems. If you're not healthy, or your family are not healthy, you have one problem. And that's that for me. You know, when you go into your matters or your rotunders or your Temple Streets, for whatever reason, you walk out going, holy shit, I'd nothing to complain about there.
A lot to be thankful for.
And it's like at wakes, at funerals, like, you know, we leave going, oh, we've nothing. But we do. We go straight back into the rat race. But that's, every now and again, you need to just stop and just stop the shit in your head. Put away your phone, put away everything, and just stop and put out and write down right now what I have to be thankful for. And there's a lot there. No matter where your life is, there is a lot there for you to go, I'm blessed. You look at the dreadful stuff that's going on in Israel and all that terrible carry on, everything in between. Like, you know, wow, are we lucky? Like, how lucky am I to put my child to bed, tell him a story and close the door and go down and watch telly? How lucky am I to do that? And I'm the first to admit we all give out about our kids because of the constant attention young people need. But when all is said and done, wow, we're lucky. We are lucky, like, and that's something that we need to just keep telling ourselves that, you know, very important. Like,
when you think back on everything over probably the last 10 years, mainly between the blog, the sketches, the TV stuff, the books, what are you most proud of?
I'm probably most proud of backing myself. Like, you know, just actually doing it, because I know there's loads of people that can do what I do. I really do believe that.
I don't think there, like,
there
it's
is,
easy
like, you
to
know,
say
like,
that, but if loads of people could do it, loads of people
yeah,
would be
but
doing
fear
it.
is the reason they didn't, though.
True.
Like hard work beats talent when talent fails to work hard. Is there more talented people out there than me all day long in every corner of the country? But I took the leap of faith that people are too afraid to, and that's what I'm most proud of. You know what I mean? I know loads of people just from my hometown of Ashbourne that could do what I'm doing, but they were way too afraid of failing, and they didn't do it. And you know, and that's just life. And I could do, you know, whatever happens to me in the future, I can always rest my hat on, well, you took a chance when it mattered, and you've nothing to prove now. Like, I know myself now, I've nothing to prove now. If I said tomorrow morning, I'm fucking sick of Rory stories, I'll pay me hold it, I'm going to go work with my mate in the building site, and I'm going to delete my social media, and if I meet people in the streets, house for me, I don't bother anymore. I didn't do that because I quit. I done it because I didn't want it. And that's what longevity does. Like, I'm at this 10 years, like, you know what I mean? I've just finished my 5th book, I've done TV shows, I've done 2 billion views, whatever. So, like, from now to the rest of time, it's me versus me. Like, it's like, where do you think you want to go? And my potential is only scratched. I know that. But what's very important for people that are successful to understand is, what are you going to regret more when you're 80? Are you going to regret another project? Or are you going to regret not going to your kid's football match? Or are you going to regret not bringing them to the playground? Are you going to regret sitting down and chatting to them? What are you going to regret more? You're going to regret more. That's what Gay Byrne often says. My biggest regret is I didn't spend more time with my kids. We love Gay Byrne. Everyone loves Gay Byrne. But that's the hard part. How do you reach your potential but also still be around your family? So you just gotta let things go and maybe give up, not give up, but not put in as much as you can, and give the energy to your family, because at the end of the day, when the dust settles, they're all that matter, like, to everyone.
That's
like,
what it's
all
all about.
That's what it's all about, and that to me, you know, and that's why I try to make all my daughter's football matches. I try, you know, do, and I'm not perfect. There's times where I'm on my phone and I'm like, Rory, what are you doing here? You eat and you put it down and you try and just go out and play, whatever it may be, because I know that there's going to be a time where you're going to look back going, why was I scrolling through shit when my child was over there looking for me to play whatever Barbie or whatever with them? Now they won't even talk to me because they're 22 or whatever. So it's finding the balance, and that to me is key. Is if I can, you know, have a house, pay my mortgage, go on a holiday year, go out for dinner, get a Chinese on a Friday night. That's it. And after that, it's just your own ego, really, isn't it? Like, who cares after that? It's all about, right, well, I want to spend time. That's why when I go on my family holiday, I delete social media in the airport, and we don't even go to the likes of the Lanzarotes or the Tourmalines, even though I love all that. Only reason I go is I don't care about Rory stories for this week. I don't care, because it's my life when my phone's on. But when I go to the Irish spots, you're going to be recognised, and I've no problem chatting to people. I just don't care. I want to forget about what I do. I want to spend time with my kids and eat food and play in the pool. And that's all I want to do. Like, do you know what I mean? And that's a lovely feeling, because once my phone's off, I don't care, but I'm just with my family, man, and having the crack, and that's it. It's actually a lovely feeling to do that, like, you know what I mean, and just, you know, splash around the pool and just chat to people, and if they want to chat to you and ask you what you want to do, I've often said, I do the odd, like, you know, even an English person asks, because once you say, oh, what's your name, and then I googled you last night. Oh my god! And you know what I mean. So I've often just said, I work on the site. I know it sounds funny, but I just want to just switch off. I want to know what you do. You know, because once I start telling you, they become intrigued by you, and like, you know, I'd love to know you. What do you do? You know what I mean? And I love that. You know, I love chatting to people, and because everyone I meet, I try and take a little bit off them, like, and learn from them. You know what I mean? Like,
I remember thinking about that being on holidays last year, and you know the way it takes a few days when you go away. It takes a few days to unwind, just to forget about the day to day. So forget about the mortgage, forget about work and stuff like that. And I remember we were in Italy with the kids, and I remember at one stage making the decision on what water slide I was going to go on next, and that was the most important thing. Was it going on that one or that one? I was like, okay, now I've actually unwound and relaxed.
Lovely, isn't it?
It's brilliant.
It's the best fit. It's just such, and we're going away now at the end of July, like, and I can't, because my autumn is bananas, because I'm on a massive tour and I'll be busy around September, October, talks and everything in between. So it's the calm before the storm. So it's such a lovely feeling, like, you know yourself, that beer, and when I say that beer, you know, that beer on the balcony after you've had a shower and you're putting that lovely after sun on you, and you take out your phone, you might play YouTube and listen to, like me, I'd be a ballad man, put on Luke Kelly Christmas, sit there, and the kids are still playing the pool, and that's that moment where it's like,
perfect.
This right now. This is happiness. This, like, it's like the film Pursuit of Happiness, you know.
The beers on the roof.
Yeah, or that as well. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, sorry, the beers on the roof is
that's lovely. That moment, that moment in Shawshank is epic as well.
Yeah.
For that moment, I felt like a free man. That is the one I thought was Will Smith.
Yeah.
When he gets the job.
Yeah.
He goes, you want to come back here and you want to get yourself new trousers because you're starting on Monday. And next minute and his acting is unbelievable. Yeah. I actually well up watching it.
Yeah.
And he leaves, and everyone in wherever, I don't say New York, everyone is busy, but this right here, this is happiness.
Yeah.
And that's such a lovely feeling. And anyone who's ever taken a risk or gotten a job that they think they wouldn't have got, or got a promote, whatever it may be in your, everyone knows that feeling of just fulfillment. And like, yeah, I often watch that film every now and again when I'm maybe not in a good headspace, and it always makes me kind of cry or get a bit emotional, because that bit where, you know, where he can't feed the son,
everything.
It's a banger of a film,
and that's one of the reasons that I love working in recruitment, is because sometimes it's just about people moving from one job to another, maybe getting an increase, or maybe getting a job that they prefer, but sometimes that job means everything to that person, and that. When we get to make that offer, when you know everything is riding on it for that person, that's the magic stuff.
I envy. I'd love to be that person.
Well, we're hiring.
You know, can you just record a few of them and have it as kind of a something to have to watch when I'm feeling shit, whatever. Because, like, that feeling of knowing that this person is a good family man, or good, whatever he or she, but say good family man, and his kids, and you know that this extra 10 grand is going to mean everything. And just that feeling, and knowing that, I'm going to probably cry now, I'm a disaster, but him going home to that family, like, and telling his wife, and them knowing that they have money now, like,
we've got it.
Man, it's that's everything, like, you know what I mean? It's just, it is everything in life, and to be able to do that. And I'm sure you'll agree that, you know, you can get paid whatever commission or get a good lump sum for whatever you do, but that feeling there, you can have $1 million in the bank, but that feeling there hits a different part of your soul, and you can feel the tingly sensation knowing that you had the privilege of making this person's life that bit better. And that's
playing a small part in it.
It's just it's brilliant. It's hard bet, like, you know, we're getting all emotional and soppy here now, but it is like you can't be, because life is hard enough, and if you can do it goes back to, if you could do it a favour, something, do it for them, because you don't know what that means to them. And I'll just tell you a quick one on that, because I know times when about this talk about warming your heart. I really hear this one. So I was in Manchester the last couple of years, as a Santi present, we bring my eldest away for a night, just the three of us, because most often, like, there's a gap between my eldest and the other two. Most often they can be overlooked because all the attention goes on the younger kids for obvious reasons. So we go away to just her, and we went to Manchester, and the women go shopping and I just arse around, whatever. But the next morning we said we were going to go for breakfast, and we were going to this local cafe, and we walked up, and just in front of us was a man in a wheelchair, and he was about maybe 60s, and his wife, a small woman behind him, and look, and maybe his son in front, but they were struggling to get the wheelchair over the ramp. So I done what I'd like to think everyone, I'll give you a hand there, and I just said, no, you're grand, and I just, horsed it up on, and your man turned around and goes, thanks very much. It's no bother. Anyway, sat there, got her whatever, pancakes, walked up, said, just looking to pay that bill, and she says, table 2 paid for that bill. And I was there thinking to myself, geez, someone here maybe Roller Stories fan or whatever, I don't know, whatever. And I looked over at table 2, and he was sitting there, and only a man in a wheelchair, and I walked up, and I'll never forget it, I put my hand on his shoulder and I said, geez, there was no need for that, man, thanks so much. And he looked at me and he says, you have no idea how much I appreciate what you've done for me. And the sun looked at me, the sun was nearly welling up, and I just thought, fuck, Jesus Christ, that is, and my heart just, and I went over and I told me wife and my daughter, and it just made our day. And we walked out, and my heart was so full of going, there's good people out there. And now, as they say, give it back, which, listen, I 100% have, like, in different ways, but, like, that was a moment I'll never ever forget. Like, that is all it took for me, because I said to my daughter, and this is life lessons, I said, Ella, like, why do you think your man paid? And she goes, well, because what he done was nice. And yeah, because, like, he's lost his legs, Ella, that man. And how vulnerable must he feel that he needs his wife to push him up a ramp? That's very hard for him to take. And by me just doing a normal deed and lifting him up, took the eyes off him for that. I'm okay now. And that's what it meant to him. And that's what it's all about. Like, it's like if you see a woman coming out of a Tesco or somewhere struggling, ask her, does she need a hand? She might not. And she might take offence to it and say, why do I need a hand? Which I've had before. I went up and said, why? Do you think I'm weak? Whoa, Rax there, no, you're all right. And then you have people going, oh, you're I really appreciate that. And you give them a hand. What happens there? They're obviously appreciate, but you've after feeding your soul, aren't you? You feel a bit better. And that's what I try to tell young people and my kids is, if you see anyone struggling, don't look. Look at them. Go over there and ask them to need a hand, like, because that's just, when you're talking about that, I'll never forget that in Manchester. It was just one. We had a lot of highlights that weekend, but I'll never forget. I went even the rest of the day. I was on a high.
And there's a ripple effect as well, because other people that will have seen you doing that are more inclined then to do it themselves when they end up in a similar position.
Yeah, because a lot of people look, but don't actually logically think. They look on all the power instead of getting up after a hole and saying, do you need a hand? You clearly do, like, you know what I mean? But a lot of people, like you'd often you'd often see someone falling in the street and people will walk by.
I'll tell you one, we were in an event in London not too long ago, full of HR people who are all about people and doing the right thing for people, and somebody fainted in the event and nobody went to help her. And I just thought, something's disconnected here. Now, of course, they did eventually, but you see people look and wonder what to do, but actually it takes the first person that actually goes, there's somebody that needs a hand. I want to ask you touched on it briefly there. Give us a quick rundown of the tour. What can people expect and where can they find out about it?
So the name of the tour is Keep Her Lit. It's something that I've always kind of said and was thinking of tour names, and that's what the tour is. It's Keeping It Lit. So it's a mixture of bringing you into my life with stories about, being a parent, like, where, you really feel like you're 16 and this, that never leaves you. And just about really just life, like all my stories, like, relatable. I want people to come to the show, laugh at my expense as always, but also leave feeling better, because, like, as well as my storytelling, I will be talking, like, resilience kind of talking. So it's a show that plenty of laughter, but also there's be key messages that I want people to take away. And then which I've added to me kind of collection of guitar. I bring the guitar now to my shows, so we'll finish with a few songs and that. So that's kind of an overall enjoyable night. That's what I'll give it. I'll be honest with everything I do, and hopefully people feel a bit better. So the tickets are on rollingstories.ie. Thankfully going really well. There's a few venues sold out already, but we'll be doing another stint in March, April of next year. But really looking forward to it, like, you know, and it's something that, you know, like a lot, I shit myself side stage. Like I really get so anxious before every gig. And I remember I met Christy Dignam at the smallest gig ever years ago in Trim, and he was shaking. I said, "What, the Christy? You've been doing this years?" "Oh, Lord," he says, I'd be rattling, whether it's the Tree Arena or it's the back hall of a shed. I'll be rattling. I said, "That's mad. Christy Dignam's nothing to prove to anyone." And now but the minute I walk out and I tell my first joke or the first story, this is why I do it. I just relax into myself and I just be myself and I tell stories and I have a bit of crack and I really feel in my habitat, you know what I mean? Like, and then I leave and I do it all over again the next night, and I think there's about 18 shows lined up and another maybe 10 to announce then in March, April. So yeah, and the new book will be coming out around then as well. So the guide to being a parent. So it's obviously a humorous but also thought-provoking book as well. That I'm actually not doing too bad myself, because comparing is the thief of joy. And nowadays social media, everyone's child is, you know, fucking no iPads and they're having avocado and sleeping 12 hours. Like, would you stop? Like, you know, be annoying me. Like, you know, you need to say it as it is, and that's what I do. So hopefully people get a laugh in the book, but also, you know, realize, okay, parenting is hard, and, you know, we're all winging it, you know what I mean? And that's what that's about. So yeah, exciting end of the year ahead anyway, thank God.
Brilliant. So tickets are on rorystories.ie. The new book will be
that'll
available.
be out now, probably kind of mid-October, so a bit away yet, but I'm sure you'll see it popping up somewhere anyway, and might be a good stocking filler for someone who is a parent, plans to be a parent, or all their kids are reared and you want to have a giggle. It'll be perfect stocking filler, yeah.
Brilliant. Well, we'll add all of that to the show notes, and I just want to say a huge thanks for coming in and doing this. It's great chatting with you.
Yeah.
Great getting all the insight into what's going on. And I just want to say thanks to Rory, thanks to our sponsors, Sanderson and Finero, and we'll see you next time.